आदाबर्स दोस्तों, hello, good afternoon to everyone. Welcome back to your channel, The Scholars Space India. I'm here, Dr. Khwaja Mohammed Ziauddin, uh, with you to share and talk about, and on a very special moment, our country is celebrating Swachchta Pakhwada. Government of India is celebrating, uh, and I wanted to be here with you for a few minutes and share my thoughts on Swachh Bharat missions and why do we celebrate Swachhta Pakhwada. As you know, that this is very important for all of us as a citizen, as a member of the society, and as a member of the family. Swachhta, cleanliness is very important, and that is essentially required everyone to understand that cleaning, cleanliness, hygiene, health, and sanitation all are interlinked and they are very important. They are very important, they are significant, and it has to be considered an important aspects of our social life, cultural life, political life, and the entire life world. So, friends, I would take a little time and please stay with me on Scholars Space. I would talk about the idea of cleanliness. As you would see that in the thumbnail, here I wanted to talk about sanitation workers, Lifeworld, and Swachhta Bharat missions. And why do we celebrate? How do we celebrate about Swachhta and Swachht Pakhwada? But let me quickly, in a minute, tell you sanitation is, or the whole sanitation workers' life and Swachh Bharat mission is significant. And it is more important when we are celebrating on reflecting on the lived experiences of sanitation workers in India. Often others have referred them as invisible backbone of the country's whole cleanliness drive, hygiene efforts of the countries, and they are important for us. We need to also understand then why they are important. History of sanitation is an important component. We should see that, and thereby sanitation is an important component for us. Sanitation as a concept, as an idea, we need not to be told. We know about sanitations, but sanitation largely in contemporary times is what? Sanitation basically refers to an idea that where cleaning of our surrounding, cleaning of people's well-being, people's surrounding are important. Therefore, the centrality of sanitation is basically overall well-being of the people, overall well-being of the society, and it is closely interlinked with the health, dignity of the individuals concerned, right? Therefore, it is very important for anyone, any researcher that we or any citizens to understand that the idea of sanitation is linked to the, and it can be understood through promoting hygiene, prevention by maintaining a lot of sanitary conditions, removing trashes, removing sewages, cleaning the garbages, and disposing the waste, solid waste, and disposal of sewages. In fact, sanitation is considered to be a process of keeping places, cleaning our society surrounding clean, healthy, providing sewage system and clean water supply. Many dictionaries and conceptual clarifications are also that it is also referred to keep healthy standards in a place where people live, especially by removing waste products, garbage safety, and for that every year you would see hoardings, pamphlet, newspaper advertisements, and on televisions when government of India, WHO, UNICEF, they talk about sanitation and cleaning. Therefore, in a layman understanding, sanitation services refer to the management of excreta from the facilities by individuals through employing and transporting the excreta for the treatment and eventually discharging or maybe reusing those waste things. So there it becomes very important. It also involves basically providing facilities and services in terms of maintaining hygienes in human conditions, living conditions. So I would say that sanitation is closely linked with health and hygiene. health and hygiene of human being, human society. Therefore, United Nations Millennium Development Goals (MDGs) also spoke about, referred about sanitation by saying that sanitation is about improving sanitation largely in terms of basic facilities, and it in the target 10, which had aimed of proportionally minimizing the suffering of people because of the lack of access to safe drinking water and basic sanitation. And then consequently we had sustainable development goal SDGs, which targeted by 2013. SDG 6 aimed to achieve universal and equitable access to safe and affordable sanitation health with the human development framework. So therefore, you also have an idea, and you would know that I need not to remind that more than 5.4 billion people worldwide are not having proper sanitations. Good number of people do not have private toilets and latrines. Almost WHO estimates 1.7 billion do not have access to that. And a large number of people, around 500 million people, defecate in open. That means behind the bushes, open areas, and nearby gutters, so and so forth. So these are the some sites which we need to keep in mind when we talk of sanitations. But we should also understand that what is the history of sanitation idea. Sanitation as an idea is colonially very important and brought to us in Indian context. So a lot of people wrote about. So when you locate historicity and locating sanitation in its historical context, it becomes important that we have in some writings that refer sanitations in documents. One also locates history from the evolution of sanitation practices, which evolved significantly over time and influenced by various pandemics, scientific advancement. In fact, Indus Valley civilizations also had advanced sanitation systems, including efficient sewage system, flushing toilets, and drive down to industrial revolutions that led to massive urbanizations. This causes huge overcrowding, poor living conditions with lot of unmatched sanitation issues. So workers living in urban locality with low income categories were facing a lot of crisis of sanitation. So a 19th century industrial revolutions may have changed the modern world, but it also became not blessing, a curse to the people who were forced to do and live in a very incongenial, poor living conditions without sanitation facilities, and it brought a lot of pandemics. We must remember the cholera and typhoid outbreaks in Greater England, in Europe. We in the surrounding of River Thames in 1858, you have great stink of the river that was creating a lot of cholera and typhoid, and you have sanitary reform movements in London post this crisis. We must quickly recall also that Edwin Chadwick reports in 1842 was basically that highlights linkages between poor sanitation and disease of the working classes that led to the evolution of public health systems in the world and in England and later in India. So 19th century hygiene movement focused on water supply, sewage systems to combat infectious diseases, and then thankfully you will be happy to know that colonial India appointed sanitary commissioners in various presidencies. India had presidencies. So you have Bombay, Madras, Bengal presidency, 1860s. So respective sanitary commissioners were appointed, and there is a first sanitation bill in India introduced in 1875 by British regime that aim to improve the urban sanitation. So you could see till this moment, one doesn't talk about workers. It's talking about improvement of sanitations in urban sectors where people were getting into large number of settlements, and urban was becoming more important. Urban was appearing a new space for living. So how urban could be better living space was the effort of all policy planners in British India. But this brought also another problem. This sanitation work became institutionalized. Who would be working was the question, and depending on the geographical locations, cultural context of the communities, right? So in Indian society, we find that sanitation in India was deeply intertwined with the caste system, particularly by the notion of purity in pollutions. So certain caste groups who were considered to be untouchable in pre-independent India. Today we people referred also ex-untouchable, or I would prefer to refer as a larger connotations at Dalit communities in India, who have primarily been doing filthy works, dirty work, cleaning anything which was not being cleaned by other caste communities in India. So eventually, the certain communities from scheduled caste, which we refer in Constitution of India, our Constitution refer them as SCs. Part of the some of the communities from SCs took up this, or structurally forced to take up these occupations, thereby whole untouchability and pollution becomes more important here, whether listing them these occupation as dirt and bad was something else. But it was very important for us, it was important us, that we should locate not only this occupation from the perspective of pollution purity, we should also locate these unhygienic, unclean, which will infect somebody, bring lot of infections into the body and risk to the life. People are living, you would read across the newspaper that people are dying in the while where they enter into the manholes, and they die, and when they die nobody is bothered about, and it's all because of toxic gases. This is formed into the sewage systems, and sewage systems are not cleaned. So this is the second dimension which I wanted to remind all of us, that when we talk of sanitation and sanitation workers, and whenever we are celebrating Swachchta Pakhwada, sanitation workers should be into the front line. And we moved use the manual scavengers through the certain legislation by the by the Parliament of India 93, and then we have 2020 2013 that also addresses the rehabilitations of uh, ex-manual scavengers, sanitation workers. But in practice, things have not gone well. There are a lot of structural barrier, cultural trauma people face, and the concern of legal framework, the social implications. One should also look at gender dimensions. Larger number of workforce in this cleaning occupations or sanitation works are largely women from Dalit communities, women from certain caste communities. And I would say that there are multiple form of exploitation these women face because of their gender, caste, poverty, and cycle and patriarchy. These are very important. So friends, it is important for us to remember that challenges are multiple, and sanitation workers faces a lot of multiple challenges. Health hazards, their exposure to toxic waste and poor sanitation infrastructure leads to various health diseases, including respiratory diseases, that leads to their severe health issues, and also casualties of the people. Who can forget the social stigma attached to sanitation work, which is caste-based discriminations, bringing multiple form of exclusions, pushing them much to the margin of the society, pushing them out of the cultural social interactions and social celebrations. One also must understand there is a very much absence of adequate protections that needs to be geared up. There are rules and regulations, policies that should eventually be more practically implied, and that will improve the sanitation workers. And lot of economic insecurity is required. So sanitation workers are employed in informal and on contract basis in municipal corporations or in offices. They have no job security, minimum wages, and no access to social benefits. Who would take care of that? They are important. Thereby, all these components which I listed here, health hazards, stigma, inadequate protections, economic insecurity makes the life world of sanitation workers miserable, individually, at the household labor and socially. Therefore, and top of the 10, their living conditions in urban areas are worse in the context of health and hygiene. Who will take care of the idea of public health is very important in that context. Do we not have responsibility? The state also should provide basic minimum healthcare support systems to them in case of any emergency. They can reflect. So I would quickly wind up by saying that reflections are very important. So, do we also talk of reflecting on Swachh Bharat missions, and the field narratives, field stories should be brought back so that the plight of the workers could be also improved. The focus is more on infrastructure, focus is less on workers. Can we do equally on both? You know, making focus to the frontline workers who keep the city cleaning, building clean, roads clean, streets clean at their own risk, life, health. You know, in fact, women faces a lot of multiple crises, multiple challenges, and they keep, while keeping the city clean. So that is very important. Sanitation workers should also be included. You know, there is very less evidence where sanitation workers' conditions have improved. So how can we make the mission of SBM successful when we are celebrating Swachchta Pakhwada? Do we not to have inclusive approach in addressing welfare, dignity, rights, human rights, and life rights, protecting women workers from sexual harassments when we are celebrating this day? This is very important. And sustainability of this mission is also important in terms of infrastructure development. Infrastructure development should be something which could be sustainable in model, which could be accessible to the people. You know, so this cannot happen only without focusing on sanitation workers, training, fair wages, adequate safety measures, better program, which can help the success of the missions, and also life could be improved. uh, Thereby, I would suggest people, citizens, academia, researchers that we must address the some of the field realities and say that there is a lack of dialogue with workers. Policies doesn't dialogue with the sanitation workers. There is a mismatch, fair mismatch between actual needs and then initiative is being taken by the state policies. There is an urgent need to talk about health and safety, friends. Safety means occupational health and safety for workers, including their access to protective equipments, healthcare and insurance, etc. Who would recognize their recognition of dignity and respect? The mission has to address the cleanliness missions. Uh, the frontline workers should be taken care of into the entire mission, so their dignity, well-being are central and has to be central to the sustainable sanitation solutions of urban India today. And I would end by another adding another point that empowerment of these sanitation workers are important through providing proper quality education their families, skill development of the workers, that will provide upward social mobility, upward economic mobility beyond sanitation sectors, right? And friends, a multidisciplinary approach, multidisciplinary policy implications are required. Sanitation policies are good, but can it be inclusive? Can it be addressing the stakeholders, frontier workers, and the communities, families who are involved into directly? How can we break the chain of transfer of occupations based on caste from one to another? Can the policy address it? We have to think about it. We need to also give a sincere thought on the rethinking on the Swachh Bharat missions, which has been successful in terms of creating awareness. But what about beyond awareness, creating a sustainable infrastructure, a truly available infrastructure, well-being, safety, dignity of the workers, not only the cities and villages, but people who live in the poor localities, their safety, their health being. Their priority has to be central. Women's rights, women's social inclusion, because the large workforce are women into this occupation. We have to think about that. With this, I find such celebrations will be true celebrations, successful celebrations, when we think that sanitation is important into the life of economically well-being and prosperous urban city of country, India and South Asia. But this success cannot be justified, celebrated without the successfully implementing the spirit of the policy, where sanitation's workers life world is also addressed. As a researcher, as a student, as a citizen, this is our responsibility. I feel that we must talk, dialogue, discuss, debate, and bring this issue in real sense into our life. We have been doing a lot of good work, but can we move beyond that? Can we also talk about this in academia? Can we do some action policy research? Lot many civil society initiatives are there, but those are limited because the research and dialogue on sanitation workers are again considered to be untouchable. Kind of pollution and purity is clean to our mind. So the cleaning of our mindset, cleaning of our academic thinking are required. I'm sure sociological, anthropological interventions, psychological interventions will bring a lot of change into the life of sanitation workers. Friends, I'm sure you must be celebrating with the nations, with the country about this date. But how do we celebrate is most important. Let us celebrate this day with the workers, not by their uniform, but also by trying to do some improvement into their life and diversifying these occupations for everybody. So any citizen who wants to take up this occupation, they should not be feeling hesitant to take up. Rather than they should be happy to take up this occupation as one of the work available into the market, available in the economic activities, not primarily as caste-based activity, caste-based occupation. So I'm sure you will appreciate this. I'm sure you will take up this issue and celebrate yourself as a citizen and researcher and take up some of the questions. I'm looking forward for your suggestions, comments. I will be happy to share, respond to your comments on this area and reach me on my website and through Scholar Space channel. This is channel which will be talking a lot about sensitive issues which our country can benefit, our society can reap benefits, and we can do something constructively for the society and also for some newer ideas into this. Thank you so much for watching, being with me. I'll be here with other very significant issues and debate with you. Look forward for your comment, suggestion, and please, if you have not done, subscribe Scholars Space India, share this channel among your friends, and like the channel so that I can be more useful to you and to the concern. Thank you so much, friends. See you again sooner on another theme at Scholars Space. Take care of yourself and stay tuned with Scholars Space. Bye bye.